So I'm making my way back from doing video at 2 of our listings. We just finished up in the city of Winchester right now, heading back to the office in Chino. Probably only gonna be there for about 30 minutes, show face, and then go home. I got my son's T-ball, first T-ball practice, which, like, I'm super excited about it. And he's only 3, he's gonna be 4 years old, but I'm super excited about him starting T-ball. My son has no idea what to expect. He has no idea he has practice today. He has no idea. All he knows is that we bought him a bat and a helmet, and he has a glove now, and he's like, Dad, what do I do with this? Like, that's his train of thought. He's only 3 years old, so he's like still trying to figure things out. Like, he's a big old kid. He looks older just because he's like really tall and long, and I know most parents say that, but it's actually the case. Like, he does look like he's a bigger kid, and he's still my baby. And so, yeah, it is a little emotional. I thinking about it, I get a little emotional, right? Because, like, I'm able to see my son carry out these sports, and it's crazy because I get to be there for him. Like, you know, God willing, I make it back home today, I'm gonna be able to see him practice, and I get to choose when I go home. Like, I know I'm gonna try to be at every practice that I can be, right? And I'm gonna be at every game that I can be, and that's important to me. So nothing could go into my schedule that's gonna fill that time. Like, there's nothing that's gonna stop me, you know, besides some crazy thing happening, like, from getting to my son and taking him to practice. Like, I'm like super pumped that I get to do that. And I think this is the feeling that I've been waiting for. And this is not even what I wanted to talk about today. Like, I was about to talk about something else right now, but kind of thinking about it, like, this is the moment I've been waiting for, to be able to take my son to practice and, like, feel amazing about it, right? Because I've been working so hard. I've worked so hard, and I work so long, and I work all these hours, and a lot of time, you know, kind of thinking of it being efficient and what that looks like, and it's starting to pay off, because now I get to go home and I don't have to worry about stuff. I don't have to worry about, you know, are things gonna get done? It's gonna get done. We put in the right systems, we put in the right people in place where it's gonna get done, and I'm super pumped about it. Just has some in and out right now. So yeah, I'm excited for my son, and it's something it's been coming up more often. Certain scenarios happen, certain situations, and I started thinking about, you know, growing up, right? My mom did a really good job of putting me in sports. My mom did a really good job of keeping me busy, keeping me off the streets, because she knew how important it was to keep me off the streets. She knew how important sports were. Not that she really understood it, but somebody in her life told her, like, hey, you know, you live in Almani, make sure you put this kid in sports, make sure you keep him busy, because you don't want him to end up like his dad on the streets, right? And doing that stuff. And my dad was on the streets. My dad was somebody that was on the streets, was, you know, in and out of jail, even till more recently. And you know, I'm not like here to put his business out there, but he's still struggling with stuff today, right? And we all do. But somebody told my mom, as she was growing up and in the process of having me, or me being small, like, make sure you put this boy into sports, make sure you keep him busy. And I'm grateful for that. And kind of looking back, you know, my mom did, like, she figured it out. We grew up super poor. I know we talked about it before. We grew up super poor. We grew up Section 8, welfare, like all the stuff you can think of, like, that's how we grew up. And so to think that she would somehow, some way find a way to put me in sports, to buy me cleats, to buy me the stuff that I needed to be able to play these sports, to sign me up, never asking for handouts, never asking for somebody, can you please buy my son, you know, cleats? And if you've done that and somebody's helped you, you know, God bless them. But, like, we've been fortunate, right? Like, that my mom was able to do that for us, or for me in particular. Now, growing up with my siblings, and my stepdad was involved, but for a long time it was just my mom, and she figured it out, and I'm grateful for it, because I learned a lot in sports. I like to think that I've been blessed with the gift to be a natural born leader, right? And what I mean by natural born leader is somehow, some way, in whatever we're doing, I always find myself getting into a leadership position. I don't ask for it, I don't look for it, it just happens. And I don't think it's a coincidence. It's not like people just like me. It's not because I have a certain personality, and that plays a lot into it. But I do believe that God gave me a gift of leadership. So going into sports, that really developed that, right? Like growing up, I was terrible at sports for the majority of my life. And yet, year after year, my mom would still put me in, and she would watch me be terrible at sports year in, year out, and she would still put me in. I did okay in wrestling 1 year, and then my 8th grade year in football, I somewhat played after like 8 years of being in Pop Warner football. I somewhat played. There's actually a girl who started over me, so that's how bad I was, right? Like I was already kind of coming into my own, and then a girl was still in front of me. That's neither here or there. I know that could be a sensitive subject for some people, but anyways, so I started thinking about this stuff and how sports changed my life, really, literally, and besides like the grace of God, like I know that He played a huge part of where we're at today. And it's just those people in our lives that come and they speak life into you, and they're sharing with you, and they're sharing their experiences with you, and they're teaching you discipline and commitment and how to commit. And I got all that from sports. So now my son coming into this, and now he's coming into his own, and he's only going to be 4 years old. He's 3 years old right now, and it's exciting because I want him to be a leader, right? I don't want him to be a follower. I want him to make good decisions. I also want him to be around the right people. And I think, being in sports is going to help him do that. He's going to be able to see that, yeah, you know what? My dad put me in sports, my mom put me in sports, and it's been paying off. So it's exciting to me, and I get to be there. And one blessing that I have right now, and again, stuff can change. Like I can go anytime, and I do think of my vitality and all that a little bit more now that I'm getting older, and I do have to start taking care of myself, my body a little bit more, and I've been realizing that. But one thing that I'm blessed to have is I get to control my time, and I get to be there for my kids and my wife and my family when I so choose to, right? And yeah, there's days where I gotta work. I can't just go to Knott's like today. I gotta work, and that's fine. But there's days where hey, let's go to Knott's. What do you gotta do today? Who cares? Let's just go, right? Like I can do that on Tuesday. I can do it on Thursday. I can go take the next week off, and that the job that we do allows and has blessed me with that freedom of time. But it's also come with a lot of time that I've put into it. So yeah, I'm super pumped for my son. I'm super pumped for our family. I'm sure there's going to be a few of us there as first practice. We don't know what to expect, but just the fact that I get to be there for my son. Growing up, and again, I didn't know I was going to talk about this. I just kind of started going out and talking. But growing up, I didn't know. Like, obviously, you're small. You don't really know the difference. You only know what you know. But I would catch on to my mom only being there and not my dad. Right, and I was kind of like, well, so-and-so's parents both of them are here, mom and dad, and like their dad's going on, during the water break, they're trying to coach him up. Hey, keep your head up, use your hands, put this foot there, plant this foot. And I'm really observant. I've always been really observant. I'm the guy that's walking around, and I'm looking at everything that's going on, and I can't help myself. It's just the way I'm wired, right? I'm making eye contact with every single person that walks by me. My wife absolutely hates it because, when you're in sales, you just wait for somebody to make contact. So there's people that are standing around, even at Disneyland, or let's say at Walmart, and they have an iPad with them, and then they make eye contact with them because I just can't help it. I just, and the dude's hey, nice beard, bro. Only people who have a nice beard own this. They start trying to sell me something, and or fill out the survey, and I'm and there I am filling out the survey because again, I can't help myself. That's just how I'm wired. So I was really observant growing up, and I would watch these these kids and having their parents around, or having their dad around, really. And I was like, well, where's my dad? You know, like, why isn't he around? And I started thinking, like, man, now that I'm older, I'm like super grateful that my mom was around, that my mom was there at practices, that even when I was in wrestling, she got this wristband that she had to go do a couple of days of training to get so she could be by me on the mat. And she had no idea what was going on. And she was just yelling. But she was there. And she had the wristband. And she was like only one of the other moms that would take the time to go do the training, do what, you know, what she had to do to get that wristband. And I admire that. So now that I get to be there for my son, it's like a promise. I got to keep that promise with my son. Like, yeah, I'm going to be there, where my dad didn't keep the promise. He chose to do other things. And there's a lot of times where he left me on the hang, right? Like, I thought he was coming, but he never came. I expected him to be there, never went. And so the expectation was always there, and I was just constantly let down by him, you know. And nothing against him. I've forgiven him, and do we have a great relationship now? No. Like, he's still doing his thing, but I've forgiven him, right? And that was more for me, not for him. And I know, like, not to like get into like any specifics or anything like that. There's a time that we work together and we're able to mend our relationship, and you know, we're good, but not great. So but you know, looking at that, it's like, no, like, I'm not gonna let my son down. I get to show up for him and show out, and I'm gonna be like super pumped for his first freaking practice. Like, that's exciting for me. I didn't think I was gonna get emotional, but I did a little bit. But we're back now. But I get to be there. I got to be present for my son, and that's exciting. It's a blessing. It's a privilege. Through God's grace, I've been able to do this. Not me. I mean, He's been able to work through me. There's a lot of stuff that I've done that I'm not super proud of, right? And you know, from drinking, smoking, doing drugs. But I'm a free man now, man, and it's just a blessing to me. So I know a lot of people may not know. I've been sober, I don't know, 8 years now or something. I don't know the exact date, but yeah, I'm super blessed. My wife is amazing. My boys are amazing, and more importantly, I get to be there for them, and that excites me. And I've been thinking about this. Like, I'm grateful, like, that I get to live the life that you know, that God has called me to live. And it's not, you know, this prosperity stuff. It's none of that. It's like God wants to use me to be able to reach more people, and so people could see his goodness and his grace. And even if I didn't have all of this, it'd still be good, and it still be graceful and loving. But I get to share that with my boys, right? And I wouldn't consider myself like the best dad, right? Like, there's still things that like I struggle with. There's things that I'm working on. There's things that I need to go through, and I need to learn, and I need to grow, and a lot of it's just getting around the right people. Not so much like, hey, get around the successful people, and like, that's all great, but like, hey, how about I get around some good fathers, some good husbands, right? Like, I don't care how successful you are. If you're a douchebag and you're cheating on your wife, like, I don't want any part of that. Like, I want to be people who have a successful business, successful life, successful relationship with Christ. I want people to have a successful relationship with their wife. Like, I want all of it, right? Those are the people I want to be around. And then the people who are not, that don't fit into my values, that don't fit into our culture, that don't fit into what I'm striving to be and who I'm striving to be, I don't want to be around those people. So it's just a blessing to be able to choose that as well. I get to choose, right? Like, God's giving me that discernment, and more and more lately, I just been super grateful. Even when things get tough, I'm grateful. You know, we've had a tough start to the year. 2024, our January was just horrendous. A bunch of cancellations, a bunch of escrows getting pushed back, and it felt like, oh shoot, what are we doing? Like, we're not operating like a team. So that's probably for another time, but I'm grateful. And and you know, this is what builds character. And I know I'm driving, but I shouldn't do this, but I want to read this verse to you guys. This is just kind of what has come to mind, and I have it on my phone here. And not only that, but we also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope, right? And that's I believe Romans 5, 3-4, and then there's another verse there. So yeah, guys, I'm completely blessed. I'm happy that that I'm able to come to all these emotions, and all this stuff came from just thinking about my son having his first practice today. So guys, don't be douchebags. You know, take care of business, take care of your wives, be good to them, honor God, be there for your kids. Business is not everything. It's a big part of it, but it's not everything. If you're providing, provide. If you're not providing, provide. And just be there. I mean, that's all you can do most of the time. You know, sometimes if you can't give financially or whatever, give your time. Like, you know, my kids are going to grow up one day and they're like, hey, was dad there? And I'm hoping the answer is going to be yes, right? And I'm going to make sure it's yes. Was dad successful? Yes, but he was still there. That's what I'm striving for. Not he was just a good man, you know, he was nice, but he was a man of God. He was there, and he was successful. Whatever success may look like to you, that's going to be different for everybody. Yeah, I'm not talking just monetary wise. So, yeah, guys, I don't know how we got to this conversation, but I'm glad we had it. Men, rise up, man up. Don't abandon your family. Don't abandon your kids, because they're going to grow up one day and they will remember, and it's going to hurt them. And not everyone, you know, gets saved, and not everybody gets to see the other side of it, where they are succeeding, or they are forgiving, or where they are doing okay. They see the other side of it when they're not doing okay, they're not succeeding, and they fall into the same trap. I'm not falling into the same trap. I won't allow it. And it's part of my prayers. Like, I will not allow it. So again, super grateful. Whoever watches this, I'm grateful that you're watching, and I hope this touches you a little bit. And if there's something that you got to work on, you can start working on it right now. So I think with that being said, SoCal Cedeno out.